This is the tragic tale of Izual, the fallen angel, proof that even the most steadfast of heaven's host can fall to the corruption of hell.
Hell itself is poised to spill forth into your world like a tidal wave of blood and nightmares. You and all your kind are doomed.
In today's video, we'll explore Izual's grim descent from his cut appearance in Diablo 1, giving context to the character, to his full realization across Diablo 2 and 3. The story begins not in the games themselves, however, but in the manual for the first Diablo title. Chris Metzens' amazing art, which I'm a huge fan of, and the lore entry introduced Izual as a heroic lieutenant of Tyrael and wielder of the angelic rune blade, Azurewrath, a champion of heaven's cause, which reads much like an in-game book.
The battles of the great conflict rage across both time and space, infringing upon the very fabric of reality itself. The greatest of these heroes was Izual, lieutenant to the archangel Tyrael and bearer of the angelic rune blade, Azurewrath. He once led a fierce assault upon the Hellforge as the dark demon blade Shadowfang neared completion. His quest was to destroy both wielder and weapon, a charge he was destined never to complete. Izual was overcome by the legions of chaos and lost to the darkness, a tragic reminder that both angels and demons will cross any boundary to destroy their enemies.
Like Shadowfang, Izual's entire questline was cut before launch.
This blade must be destroyed. Thank the light.
Fortunately, the Beelzebub mod restores this lost mission, one that every Diablo 1 fan should experience. Though, before we dive into it, I do owe one confession. I somehow mispronounced Izual's name throughout this first segment when I filmed it a couple of years ago, despite finding him countless times in Diablo 2 and hearing his name just as much. A blunder worthy of making Tyrael himself lose faith in humanity.
Fool! You have just ensured the doom of this world. You cannot even begin to imagine what you've set in motion this day.
Azurewrath and Izual. I don't know why I didn't remember that story earlier. I've heard it often enough from my grandmother and Cain the storyteller. Well, I hope that my information was still more of a help than a hindrance. May light guide you, my friend.
This is the story of Izual, the fallen angel, and his original appearance slated for Diablo 1, which was cut from the final game.
Farnham is often confused, but he speaks a powerful name when the word Izual passes his lips. Cain would be able to tell you in much greater detail the legend of this warrior.
The original wicked tale of Izual can be started once the player has entered level 15 of the Burning Hells and travels back to town. At this point, you can approach Jillian the barmaid, and she says,
Pray your pardon, but I have something to tell you that you may find interesting. It was the strangest thing. While drinking at the tavern, Farnham was rambling about something called Azurewrath. He also said something about a fallen angel. It was hard to understand him because he was very drunk and disoriented, but I seem to remember something about a key in a barrel. He also kept covering his face and repeating the word Izual over and over again.
What a confusing bunch of clues we're given. Farnham supposedly talks about something called Azurewrath, a fallen angel, and a key in a barrel, which may be pivotal to solving this mystery, and all the while, he was supposedly covering his face. Curious about the new quest the dialogue is initiated called Izual, the Fallen Angel, we head to Farnham to hopefully decipher these clues.
Did you ever hear the one of the cane tails? I love that one.
Thank you, Farnham. No mention of barrels and keys, angels, or Azurewrath, just drunken and giggling. So we saunter over to our only solid lead thus far, the town scholar, Deckard Cain.
Farnham has taken to drinking quite heavily since his encounters in the labyrinth. But within the ramblings of this drunken man rests a legend well steeped in myth and mystery. Sit for a moment, my friend, and let me tell you of Izual and Azurewrath. The saga of Izual takes place during the lost battles in Hell. Izual was an angel who was given charge of the Holy Rune Blade Azurewrath. Leading a daring assault on the Hellforge, Izual was set upon by hundreds of blackened demons and was fatally wounded. The fiends cast the dying angel into a dark pit where the powers of chaos transformed him as he drowned in a whirlpool of burning blood. Evil possessed Izual. The feathers of his wings burned away to reveal leathery skin, and horns ripped through the flesh of his head. When he finally arose from that black pit, Izual was an angel no more. Transformed into a creature of evil, he was once again given charge of Azurewrath, assuring that the blade would never again be used against the denizens of hell.
What an unbelievably wicked tale to take Demon's Bane Azurewrath from the angel Izual, cast him into the abyss, having his wings burned away as he's consumed by a new demonic form, and wickedly making sure that Azurewrath is only used to protect evil and never against the Hell's forces themselves. If I may make a quick aside, as the character and his blade are of course legendary in the series, and show off the infamous concept art of Chris Metzens showing this hellish scene taking place. Notably, as mentioned by Kane, angels in Diablo 1 still had feathery wings and visible flesh versus their light counterparts, which were revised later. Speaking of weapons, we should see what the town blacksmith Griswold has to say on the fate of Azurewrath.
The blade Azurewrath! Ugh, it's legend! It was cast by the angelic weaponsmith Synodid and tempered within the fires of judgment. Whoever wields this weapon will find the legions of hell at his feet. If you found this blade, I would begin to truly believe that you could end the nightmare that has befallen our town.
It's clear this coveted weapon of the high heavens should never have fallen into the demon's hands, and we can only lament its devious repurposing. It's also quite amazing the blade is famous enough for most of the townsfolk to be aware of it. So, as we leave the well, we see Ogden, the innkeeper, and if he has further knowledge of the sword.
There is an old story of an angel named Izual, but I don't remember much more than that.
Although not much is gained, it's clear that this is a shared fable in Tristram, and so we head to Wirt, who says,
"If you were to find any trace of Izual or the blade Azurewrath, even I would be impressed. That is definitely one of a kind."
Even Wirt seems to revere this blade versus his less than stellar reaction to Shadowfang, its seemingly dark counterpart. As we have learned what we can, all that is left is to head to Adria the Witch, second to only Cain in terms of knowledge of the high heavens and burning hells.
The once proud Izual is trapped deep beneath the surface of this world. His honor stripped and his visage altered, he is trapped in immortal torment, charged to conceal the very thing that could free him.
What a cruel fate to be put in charge of a holy weapon by the high heavens, be torn apart by demonic legions, and remade in a pool of blood in the abyss. Izual himself trapped in a demonic unholy form, and to add insult to injury, to be put in charge of said weapon again, with the opposite intent. Heading down to level 15, we search for this mysterious room Farnham spoke of, left to contend with hordes of snow witches firing torrents of blue cold bolts at us, and dastardly Kabbalists whirring wicked licks of lightning in chains before promptly teleporting to safer ground. A maddening affair for a warrior whose only way to breach the distance is to trudge at them, one by one. But finally, we come across the fabled room full of barrels. As we use a lightning spell to open the barrels and they explode in unison, no keys are found. So, with that, we head back to town in search of clues from the source Jillian.
You know, now that I think about it, maybe it wasn't a key in a barrel, but a barrel that was the key. Does that make any more sense?
So the barrels are the key. underneath which all there is a pad that looks like some type of warp point. Out of ideas again, we teleport back to town. However, like the Butcher's Chamber, this too must have been a clue, and an eerie crimson portal leading to the Temple of the Damned opens, and it makes sense that the barrels were shaped themselves like a portal and hiding the pedestal underneath. In this green-floored dimension, we are immediately set upon Blood Knights and Doomsayers with overwhelming frost attacks, and we make a hasty retreat as soon as we thaw and start using the walls as cover to thin the herd, lest we be hacked down as a warrior-sized ice cube. After clearing the room, we spy a pedestal where it's clear we must insert some kind of key or unlock it somehow. First, heading to the northwest room, we're met by a unique Blood Knight named Catalan Lefares the Destroyer, boasting abilities of being extra strong and a nasty charge with fire enchantment. He nearly drops us in one hit, and we're only able to just hack through his defenses with our own nasty stun lock against the wall, thanks to the cleave ability. After which we find a switch in the furthest room and head south to find its assumed second counterpart in the rooms below. It's then we are promptly ambushed by a group of Doomsayers, a move which is cold even for them. Swathing a path through the remainder of the pack, we unlock the second switch and a door opens above us. It's here we're forced to face the Overlord, Archrector Repeshag, a demon clearly well versed in the art of fire conjuration. Only by using the bone-built walls and utilizing a vantage point do we quickly burn him down before his brethren have a chance to fell us. Upon defeat, he will drop the temple's keystone, and as well a much-needed tower shield named Bonewing, which boasts enhanced defenses, plus 40% to cold resist, thank you, and plus 9 to vitality. After re-prepping our gear and supplies, we take the temple's keystone and place it on the grim pedestal.
How much suffering, mortal, does it take before you lose your grace? Let me show you.
With a macabre line about his fall, Izual opens his barrage of attacks with a deadly circle of cold, which is, of course, later his trademark. Although we are further protected from cold, it's not enough to save us from being slowed, and Izual, in his demonic form, viciously pounces on us while we're vulnerable, hammering down our defenses with ease as we thirstily gulp potion after potion, trying to stave off his ferocious assault. Juggling the onslaught of cold, potion management, and utilizing skills to burn down Izual's own defenses, we finally fell this foul demon.
Turn to heaven, warrior of light.
Although the victory is bittersweet, Aiden remarks about his soul being freed of this ghastly demonic vessel. However, as we know, that isn't the case. But before we discuss this, and we check his body for loot, and of course, one piece is a very unique sword. Rushing back to town, we seek out Deckard Cain to identify our bounty, especially this curious, unusable rapier.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Identifying the sword, it turns out, of course, to be Azurewrath, having plus 10 to all attributes, a plus 35% chance to hit, cold hit damage is a whopping plus 8 to 20, plus 25 increased attack speed, and minus 40% requirements so that we can use it straight away, plus 50 damage to undead, which no doubt specifically was imbued upon its creation, and as a weapon of the high heavens, a 5% chance to cast Holy Bolt on striking. What a remarkable blade, fit for any agent of light, and freezing enemies where they stand. Of course, this blade does make an appearance in the sequels, and Izual himself does too.
It's in Act 4 of Diablo 2 where Izual finally appears, no longer Heaven's warrior, but a tormented shade chained in hell. His mind twisted by demonic corruption, he serves as a cruel reflection of what happens when valor meets damnation.
Tyrael has asked you to confront Izual the Fallen. He must have great faith in your abilities. I trust you know what you're doing. Be careful. You're our last hope.
This is the story of the fallen angel and the quest's original appearance in Diablo 2. Our story picks up after tepidly stepping through the infernal gate in Mephisto's lair, and takes us from beneath Kurast to the otherworldly bastion known as the Pandemonium Fortress. Upon arrival in this strange floating landmass between worlds, we see the Archangel Tyrael in a great hall, hovering by a large fire adorned with various weapons and ornaments of battles of yore. He then relays somber news, saying,
It is good to see you again, hero. Mephisto's defeat is a great victory for the light. I knew that you would eventually find your way here. The Pandemonium Fortress is the last bastion of heaven's power before the gates of the burning hells. This place has been hallowed by the blood of thousands of champions of the light, many of whom were mortal, like yourself. Now, the final battle against the prime evils draws near, and you must face it alone. I have been forbidden to aid you directly, save for a few bits of wisdom. For this is the hour of mortal man's triumph, your triumph. May the light protect you and the powers of heaven shine upon your path. There is a dark, tortured soul who was trapped within this forsaken realm long ago. He was called Izual by mortal men, and in ages past he was my most trusted lieutenant. Yet, against my wishes, he led an ill-fated assault upon the fiery Hellforge itself. Despite his valor and strength, Izual was captured by the prime evils and twisted by their perverse power. They forced him to betray his own kind and give up heaven's most guarded secrets. He became a corrupt shadow of his former self, a fallen angel, trusted neither by heaven nor hell. For his transgressions, Izual's spirit was bound within the form of a terrible creature, which was summoned from the abyss. His maddened spirit has resided within that tortured husk for many ages now. It seems to me that he has suffered long enough. I implore you, hero, find Izual and release him from his cruel imprisonment. Put an end to his guilt and suffering.
After initiating the quest, our journal updates telling us we can find Izual in the Plains of Despair, and we cannot help but wonder what possibly could sway an angel to turn on his brethren. More tragically, Tyrael's own trusted lieutenant, who can never fully be trusted again by heaven nor hell, yet has betrayed the light and reportedly taken heaven's most guarded secrets with him. And Tyrael further recalls,
Though Izual no longer carries the angelic rune blade, Azurewrath, he may still possess great strength and power within his new form. Also, he may not be able to tell friend from foe while in his present state. If you find him, he will almost certainly be hostile. Proceed with the utmost caution.
It should be noted this is the same Izual who appeared as a demonic incarnation in our Diablo 1 cut content video, carrying the fabled angelic runeblade Azurewrath, but was removed from the final game. And before the angels of the Diablo universe were cemented in our collective consciousness as beings with unseeable features and wings comprised of light, Chris Metzens famously sketched Izual's downfall in some Diablo 1 art, with the former angel resembling a more biblical take on angelic beings being dragged to hell by demons during his untimely capture. As we begin our quest and head down some stairs, we see two mysterious NPC merchants, Halbu, a warrior of unshakable faith,
What do you need?
and Jamela,
Hail to you, champion.
the armored mage. Both are mortals who reportedly had come to the fortress with the explicit intent of helping the heroes, though never offer advice or opinions on any further quests. And while we cannot glean any information from them directly, interestingly, as a part of Diablo trivia and history, Jamela has a peculiar at-rest animation. She reads from a book, concentrates for a moment, and then sketches a glowing rune word in the air. They aren't legible letters in English or any other language, and Diablo fans have tried to decipher those letters, but the official word from Blizzard was that they are unfortunately meaningless. They're just some symbols that the artist had made up. And it was also revealed in the supplement for Diablo's D&D edition called To Hell and Back that Jamela actually had serious doubts as to whether mortals could defeat the Lord of Terror, but kept them to herself. And lucky for us, she did. As we begin our search for the errant aberration known as Izual, we step down the winding stairs with oblivion waiting for us if we make a single misstep, and pause to see the bottom of the fortress is wrapped with great chains binding fallen victims of wars long forgotten to its breast. As a cruel reminder, this is the grounds of a bloody eternal conflict, with both sides bound to the ground, as are its victims. As we move into the outer steps, we see a great gate, further punctuated with fresh gore and chains holding it in place, and a pillar with trapped souls bound to a spike, which we release from their accursed limbo. It's sometime in the bone-strewn wastes before we encounter our first enemies, the corpulents, sickly, fleshy beings who eat carrion of the dead and spit it as their own grotesque attacks. After facing the first pack of foes, we are then pounced upon by venom lords who surround us, breathing fire in chorus and burning our health down before dying in plumes of flame. Then we see the ever-lurking Doom Knights. We've heard stories of Doom Knights being undead warriors, said to attempt to fulfill the prophesied death of any being so fated by chance, fate, or at the order of a prime evil. And it's at the eastern end of the outer steps we finally find the entrance to the winding steps into the plains of despair, and are met by red, almost flame-like beings called burning souls, said to hate the living. These floating, semi-ethereal monsters are widely dreaded for their potent lightning bolt attacks. As they are transparent, they can be hard to see when they move between attacks, all the while popping to and fro and spewing chains of lightning. After much wandering through the plains, dealing with waves of enemies, we happen upon a cross-like structure, and seeking a moment of respite, we unfortunately find none. Instead, we're ambushed by two more burning souls, and then a Doom Knight beckons to his skeletal chums with an approximation of their own guard dogs, champion flesh spawners. These disturbing demons that crawl on two sets of hands are female in appearance, with a set of breasts, pointy and limp, and a demon's head atop their grotesque torso. With a long spine for a tail, they actively birth the flesh beasts, the very same the Wanderer conjured outside Kurast. We're wise to contend with the flesh beasts' mothers before stamping out any remnants of these fiends as the guts spill all over the hovering stone slab underfoot. After dealing with more scores of ethereal ghosts lingering on the battlefield and looking to snuff out the stench of life, we unsuspectingly happen upon a giant blue mega demon out in the open who grunts before immediately setting upon us. Our quest updates telling us to destroy the demonic vessel holding Izual. Surprised at his remark, we're put on the back foot momentarily. However, we're vulnerable in the open to more monsters attacking, so we begin frantically racing backwards, searching for the previously cleared cross-shaped building, where we may be able to lure the demon and have some chance to face him one-on-one. And as we make it into the cross-like structure, we move to the north end and frantically dive into a town portal before he can pounce on us. After gathering some much-needed supplies, we speak to Tyrael, who urges,
"You mustn't delay, mortal hero. Izual must be put to rest, but Diablo still lurks within this realm. Go now. Hurry."
Deckard Cain then speaks of what he knows of Tyrael's involvement of the greatest schemes at hand, as well as Izual, saying,
Having trouble finding the fallen angel, eh? You'd better hurry. It's beginning to feel like some great evil is permeating the air around here. I have read much about the enigmatic archangel Tyrael. He was revered in Horadrim lore, both for his compassion for mortals and his unquenchable spirit. It was rumored that he went against the wishes of heaven and gave the Horadrim the original soul stones in order to trap Diablo and his brothers.
Although Tyrael is no doubt a great angel for helping humanity, albeit indirectly at this point, and trapping the greater evils, we cannot help but wish he would be by our side when we put down this rogue angel. But to kill your kin must be a morbid thought for poor Tyrael. We step once more through the portal to see a Doom Lord and dispatch them with ease. And once more, Izual urges us, saying,
Save yourself.
However, still maddened, lunges at us with waves of Frost Nova and his giant sword. Izual, although his cold, biting sword is deadly and Frost Nova makes him more than formidable, boasts an extraordinarily large health pool, and a war of attrition begins as we trade blow for blow, saved only by our sash that stops us from being frozen. His maddened eyes bore into ours, and we feel the pinch of tension creep up into our stomach, knowing we may run out of healing potions long before putting a dent in the behemoth of a demon. As we battle the fallen angel, upon closer inspection we see Izual is similar looking to a mega demon with golden armor, 3 horns, a pair of tusks, a blue hide, a short spiked tail, and with slightly shorter wings, yet quicker foot compared to his contemporaries. As the battle drags on, we attempt to find sure footing away from being edged into the abyss and are mobbed unceremoniously by a trio of Doom Lords. Now, with a gaggle of foes to contend with, we say our prayers, yet somehow, against all odds, burn down the skeletal warriors, and in tandem, thanks to our zeal, Izual himself, who bursts into a cascade of holy energies released from his fleshy prison, and our quest updates directing us to speak to his corporeal spirit freed from its cage, to which he reveals.
Tyrael was a fool to have trusted me. You see, it was I who told Diablo and his brothers about the Soul Stones and how to corrupt them. It was I who helped the Prime Evils mastermind their own exile to your world. The plan we set in motion so long ago cannot be stopped by any mortal agency. Hell itself is poised to spill forth into your world like a tidal wave of blood and nightmares. You and all your kind are doomed.
Defeating him reveals the full horror of his fall, that his betrayal of heaven wasn't willful, but the result of Diablo's deceit. 2 decades later, in Diablo 3, Izual returns once more, not as a memory, but as a weapon. Reborn by Diablo himself during the assault on the high heavens, the once noble lieutenant now commands Hell's forces, twisted beyond redemption.
There is something different here.
I sense it as well. Be on your guard.
We too sense something's amiss, and it's then Diablo taunts.
Look, Tyrael, your old lieutenant.
As we head onto a large platform surrounded by ice shards, we have a feeling this is not a welcomed reunion.
It seems we've both fallen from grace, Tyrael. Come, embrace your former lieutenant.
Diablo, the master of mockery, has sent forth Izual, the betrayer, whose lore reads,
Angel Izual was once Tyrael's lieutenant, but he was captured by the enemy after an ill-advised assault upon the Hellforge. Izual surrendered to demonic corruption and revealed the secrets of the Soul Stones to the Prime Evils. Tyrael claimed that Izual was slain years ago, but his replacement has never emerged from the Crystal Arch.
You failed again, Tyrael. The corruption cannot be stopped. Look beneath you and see the ruin of heaven.
How he returned, however, reveals the true extent of his damnation. As exploring Izual's return, when an angel dies, their essence is reformed into a new being, reborn in heaven's waters. But Izual's corruption was absolute, and his spirit somehow became bound to the infernal cycle reserved for demons. Death followed by rebirth in the abyss. Now that means that Izual's soul is eternally enslaved, condemned to fight his brothers again and again at the whim of the very darkness he once valiantly sought to destroy. A bleak fate for one of heaven's greatest heroes, and a cruel mockery of the very justice he once embodied.
Once proud Izual is trapped deep beneath the surface of this world. His honor stripped and his visage altered, he is trapped in immortal torment, charged to conceal the very thing that could free him.